Tonight, teachers begin work to rule sanctions next week, and the STF explains why it rejected binding arbitration. Also, the RCMP releases the internal review into their response into the stabbings at James Smith Cree Nation and nearby Weldon in 2022. Plus, on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, ceremonies unfold around the world to remember that significant day at Juno Beach.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, June 6th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. The government of Saskatchewan is continuing its call for binding arbitration with teachers. Meanwhile, teachers are preparing to work to rule indefinitely across the province starting Monday. Laura Sharpaletti has the story.
The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says it's reached an impasse with the government's bargaining team. Teachers voted down the last two proposed contracts in recent months. Neither of those contracts addressed class size, a key issue for teachers. After negotiations broke down Wednesday, the government suggested the two sides jointly request binding arbitration. The STF declined.
Our government has tried throughout this process to show that we're committed to making sure supports are available. We've increased that number several times. And again, when it comes to certainty going forward, that's what really we see binding arbitration as.
With arbitration, the parties submit proposals and agree to be bound by a contract written by an independent arbitrator. But the president of the STF says the best agreements are made at the bargaining table.
Students need more supports now. Binding arbitration can be a lengthy process, which would guarantee that no additional supports would be provided by September and possibly not even January if it's a prolonged period before we get a decision from the arbitrator.
Earlier in negotiations, teachers had actually asked for binding arbitration, but the government said no. BCOT says the situation was very different then, and they're seeing progress now.
Back in March, we hadn't, in my perspective, experienced bargaining at the table. There hadn't been any good faith negotiations with back and forth, presenting proposals. And so we saw that as the only option to move the process forward.
Starting Monday, teachers won't provide any voluntary services or lunch supervision. Teachers will begin their shift 15 minutes before the bell rings and end 15 minutes after. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Student mental health is among areas highlighted in Saskatchewan Auditor's latest report released yesterday. Tara Clement says at least 30% of grades 7 to 12 students at Living Sky School Division struggled with anxiety and depression in the last year. And one counselor was responsible for 820 students. Living Sky School Division was chosen as a case study. It includes 28 schools in 15 communities, including North Battleford, Unity, and Pelican Lake First Nation. Clement made several recommendations to the division, including assessing counselors' caseloads and preparing safety plans for students at risk of suicide. Clement says it's not just Living Sky that should be doing this, and experts are empathetic.
When we do work at school divisions, the recommendations that we make here, we obviously always encourage the other school divisions to look to them as well and determine applicability and whether it sort of implies that there's work and things that they could do as well.
My heart really goes out to those counselors because as a child psychiatrist, our numbers are also nowhere near where they need to be. And so we're also dealing with these incredibly big caseloads or very long waits to get in to access the care.
Hinn says a child has to wait almost 2 years to see a psychiatrist. She says the mounting pressure is leading to burnout among mental health experts. She'd like to see at least one counselor in every school and additional support for students. In a statement, Living Sky said the division has begun addressing several items mentioned in that audit. The Saskatchewan RCMP acted appropriately in response to a mass stabbing incident in and around James Smith Cree Nation. So says an internal review released today, which made dozens of recommendations. Jason Warwick reports.
Assistant RCMP Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore, speaking at the Regina News Conference today, said she will do everything in her power to address these 36 recommendations made by Alberta RCMP about the mass casualty event at James Smith Cree Nation and nearby Weldon, where, as we know, 11 people were killed and 18 were injured by Miles Sanderson. Blackmore said that she's reviewed the writing of the Alberta RCMP about this incident, and she lauded the work of her officers. She said that there are things to be learned, but in general, they did an amazing job.
Despite the magnitude of the situation and the fact that things were unfolding rapidly and chaotically, it's my opinion that the RCMP response and that of our partner emergency services was nothing short of outstanding. Simply put, we are humans working in unpredictable conditions, and I will forever be proud of what our members and employees did in the face of such horrific circumstances.
The 36 recommendations included a wide variety of suggestions, and they included having an up-to-date photo database. At the time of this tragedy, they did not, and it impeded their search for the suspects. They recommend that there be more connections between RCMP locally and the James Smith Cree Nation and other First Nations in the province. RCMP say that that work is well underway, and they will heed the recommendation to meet at least quarterly. They're also looking to beef up RCMP staffing. At the time of this tragedy, they had vacancies in areas such as the Warrant Enforcement Division. But that said, RCMP said that they were looking for much more serious concerns. There were people with more violent histories, and there was no indication that Mr. Sanderson was capable of something like this. So in general, again, 36 recommendations for ways that the RCMP can improve, but in general, this report says that many good things were done as well. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Pride Month is full of celebrations across this province, but maybe not for Saskatchewan Party MLAs. Saskatoon Pride is joining organizers in Regina, Moose Jaw, Prince Albert and the Battlefords, banning Sask Party politicians from Pride events. The decision was made due to the province's Parents' Bill of Rights policy, Bill 137. The education policy requires parents to consent if their child under 16 wants to use a different name or pronoun. Saskatoon Pride says anyone who voted for that is not an ally of the 2S LGBTQ+ community. It's a change in stance for Saskatoon Pride, originally saying it would rigorously vet participants.
I find the hypocrisy of the Sask Party is beyond comprehension. I mean, they have put youth lives at risk by, Bill 137.
I think it shows a real lack of integrity that some Sask Party members and politicians think that they can show up for the photo ops of pride parades, and then they kind of can't find their voice for the rest of the year when it comes to supporting the 2S LGBTQIA+ community.
Saskatoon Pride called the Sask Party's voting record and rhetoric disgraceful and wants to see Bill 137 repealed. This year's Saskatoon Pride Parade is scheduled for June 22nd. An apology from the Hospitals of Regina Foundation is not enough for one gala guest. The charity apologized yesterday for any offense caused by comedian Rob Schneider at its fundraiser Saturday night. Tynan Allen was among those who wanted Schneider pulled off the stage.
I really felt strongly after seeing many people, some were in tears, some were, incredibly upset. People were leaving the room, that I just said to myself, I can't sit by and do nothing. We were all here at Connexus for an amazing event to support the Hospitals of Regina Foundation. The main act of the night was Rob Schneider from TV, movies, whatever. Within probably 45 seconds, he, started sharing things about, being, very anti-vaccinations, very against trans folks, even quite a few misogynistic things, I would say. So I went up and asked to speak to the organizers of the event. At first, they were incredibly dejective and sort of saying, well, we're not going to do anything, and we hired this guy, and lots of people are laughing, so why would we shut him down? And I sort of made a case. Not only is this completely inappropriate and offensive and really filled with hatred, but it's also, the first day of Pride. And we have to recognize what that day means to people, that, especially in a hospital setting where people, go through gender affirming care and reproductive care and fertility treatments, all of those sorts of things. And that's being challenged and mocked and laughed at on a public platform, especially when fundraising for that type of an organization. It's so not okay. They actually told me that they had done research on him, that they said that they watched a lot of YouTube videos about him. So that actually was more concerning to me, when looking at their letter, that they said that their booking agent did it, when I actually heard from organizers that they themselves had also researched him. They finally agreed to go and ask this person to leave the stage and had security waiting to escort him out. I love an apology, but it doesn't mean a lot to show that they've learned anything.
A 41-year-old man in Saskatoon is charged with first-degree murder in connection to a homicide in 2020. Jordan Gamble was arrested yesterday in Prince Albert. In September of 2020, the body of Eagleson Thomas was found in the basement of a house on Avenue G South. The 23-year-old had been reported missing a week earlier. Gamble appeared in provincial court this morning. A 27-year-old woman is also charged with accessory after the fact. Saskatchewan Roughriders starting quarterback Trevor Harris says he is feeling gratitude for being back for week 1 of the CFL season. The Riders held their last practice today before heading to Edmonton tomorrow to kick off the season. Harris literally broke his right knee, which was a tibial plateau fracture, just 5 games into last season. And right after surgery, he was back at the stadium, leading his team by helping coaches break down film and studying other teams. Now, the 38-year-old says he's not just happy to be back on the field with his teammates.
We've got bigger fish to fry than just me being back and playing. My mind has shifted from, getting back to play to that's long in the past. So yeah, I'm very, very happy, grateful, super grateful, and very much gratitude every day. But to say that I'm just happy to be here, we got some big fish to fry.
A1 guy, great leader. Even the conditions that we've been having throughout the week, I was just joking with him. I said, shoot, maybe he's been firing them balls out there, man. So, nothing really phases the guy, and he loves the game. So I'm happy he's on our side.
As a former defensive coordinator, May says he's not favoring one side of the ball, and he's really excited to see what the offense does under new coordinator Mark Mueller. Kickoff Saturday is at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton at 2 o'clock. The season officially kicks off tonight in Winnipeg, where the Bombers are hosting Montreal. Well, the wind may have been gusting, but the sun was out and the pool was open. Wascana Outdoor Pool opened its gates in Regina this morning, and a few people did take advantage of having the pool mostly to themselves. The rest of Regina's outdoor pools are scheduled to open a week from today, weather permitting, of course. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. A Melville man is hosting a transplant trot this weekend to show gratitude to his donor's family and to all donor families who make transplants possible.
I had kidney issues ever since I was a young boy. Back in '74, it was very early stages of kidney transplants when nobody was sure of anything. I'm scared and unsure what was going to take place because it was both very new to us. When I was still in recovery, I asked the doc. The doc says, what would you like? I said, beer and pizza. And he said, sure. We got to get the kidney working.
When he asked me to marry, I had said, are you serious? Because we just didn't know what the future was going to hold. And he said, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I want to start living and carry on with my life as long as I have it.
Transplantation does work. And maybe we can get a lot more people to sign up to be organ donors, because each donor can save up to 8 lives. That everybody that wants to become an organ donor, you have to talk to your family, because ultimately they are able to make your final wishes if you want them to come true or not. They'll make their final decisions for you, and hopefully they will be and can save other people.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Stories like that are why I signed my donor card, Ethan. But can you give him nice weather and less wind for that transplant trot?
Wind? Yeah, maybe not. Otherwise, yeah, we are looking for maybe some clearer skies here over the next couple of days. Peak winds again in the range of over 90 kilometers an hour in Estevan today. Regina and Moose Jaw getting over 80. Even Saskatoon, this is stronger than where you were yesterday. A gust of 72 reported a bit earlier. And generally, all of us kind of in that 60 to 80 range gust-wise. Still very much the case right now through a lot of the province. And even some stronger winds in far northeastern sections of the province too, which is where we continue to see the rain and, yes, at times some snow falling in northern Saskatchewan. That low pressure system bringing through that cloud cover, and even still the radar kind of catching the edge of that system moving through the north. But for south and central, things have cleared away here, and a pretty nice day temperature-wise as well in the sunshine. You can see the spread in temperatures as a result here, still in the 20s, low 20s in southern Saskatchewan. Nearly 20 degrees colder, though, in Stony Rapids, which this time of year should be kind of in that 15 to 20 degree range. Definitely far from that. And we're going to continue to see that moisture moving through the north tonight. Could be some freezing rain at times and ice pellets mixed in with the snow and the rain. So all types of precipitation basically falling in the north. For south and central, a bit of increasing cloudiness tonight as we see some showers moving through, especially the south. That'll be light mostly and kind of just a chance of showers before things clear out for tomorrow afternoon. The north, though, still unsettled these next couple of days. That moisture spilling southward a bit into Saturday. Central Saskatchewan could also catch some of the cooler air from that system moving through, and that gets into southern parts of the province as we head into Sunday. So another generally 5 to 10 millimeters if you're in the north. Far northern sections, maybe 10 to 15 millimeters. Snow-wise, I don't think we're really looking for too much more here, and it's just going to melt on the ground, but could be another 1 to 3 centimeters through far northern sections. Winds are going to die down pretty quickly tonight. They will come back a bit tomorrow, not quite as strong as the last couple of days here, though. But Saskatoon, Lloydminster, the Battlefords, Kindersley could be in that 60 to 70 range before things finally return somewhat to normal just in time for the weekend. So for Regina, after a morning of some cloud cover, we'll get some clearing skies with highs near 20. Saturday looking quite nice sky-wise with those breezy conditions. We're watching our next system Monday moving through the south, which could bring a few millimeters of rain before temperatures skyrocket into the 20s. Saskatoon, enjoy tomorrow, because Saturday that cold air sinks southward to you and you drop back to around 14. Not as much of a chance of rain for you on Monday before hitting the mid-20s heading into next week. So yes, Sam, looking like next week, the wind, not as much of a problem.
Thanks for waving your magic wand.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. Second World War veterans, global leaders, and many others gathered today to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy, France. More than 14,000 Canadians stormed Juno Beach on June 6, 1944, helping liberate Europe from Nazi Germany. Julia Wong has more on the solemn ceremony.
The mood was somber and reflective as thousands of people gathered in Normandy to commemorate the anniversary of D-Day. The ceremony at the Juno Beach Center involved flyovers, readings from students, and a round of applause as the names of 13 Second World War veterans were read out loud.
Mr. William Seyfried.
A handful of those veterans landed here on Juno Beach on D-Day. Later, those veterans who were the VIPs of this ceremony were brought down to Juno Beach for a visit. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that Canada was a small country that played a big role on D-Day, and he says Canada remembers those soldiers' stories and their sacrifice.
Democracy is still under threat today. It is threatened by aggressors who want to redraw borders. It is threatened by demagoguery, misinformation, disinformation, foreign interference. We must all continue to stand for democracy day in and day out. We owe it to future generations, and we owe it to the great women and men in uniform who sacrificed so much for our collective freedom.
We spoke to people in the crowd, and many of them came from Canada because they specifically wanted to be here to mark this milestone. There were people of all ages from all different backgrounds. Here's what they had to say about what it meant to be here.
It's incredible to think about the sacrifice that so many made for the freedom of our country and our world. And it's very hard to imagine what this would have looked like. Such a peaceful place right now.
It was so overwhelming, like, because I only seen it on TV and I read about it in books and learned about it in school, but to actually be here and step on a beach where so many Red River Métis, you could say they were youth, gave up their lives for the war.
You were saying it's just hard to describe everything that you've been feeling over the last little while. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's hard to explain because it's coming out of nowhere, so you don't know why, but it's just a feeling, you know. It's really hard to explain.
Ceremonies to mark this anniversary will continue on Friday, including a commemoration at a Canadian war cemetery. Julia Wong, CBC News, Juno Beach, France.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather and perhaps another magic wand.
Yes, well, say the words and it shall happen. We're going to look at those winds diminishing just like that in Regina overnight tonight. Clear skies, but keep in mind by tomorrow morning still a little bit cloudy with a chance of some showers overnight and into that first part of the morning as you head out the door. Winds are going to pick up a little bit again here, but probably not as strong as the last couple of days, kind of in that 40 to 50 range for the most part. We'll manage to get into the upper teens once again as those skies clear away for the afternoon. And looking at Saskatoon, clear skies, also 10 degrees tonight. More sunshine for you tomorrow, but keep in mind winds probably going to be a little bit on the breezier side and could be in the 50 to 60 range. So one more last blast of this wind tomorrow for that part of the province, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we go, a new film festival in Saskatoon is showcasing local and international Indigenous films this week. The Atsamoan Film Festival features 80 films from Indigenous artists and panels with industry veterans. The goal is to inspire the next generation of filmmakers.
We're already storytellers traditionally and ancestrally, I would say. But yeah, nowadays these filmmakers here have used our own traditional stories and incorporated that in their animation, claymation, in their horror stories even. Those ones are super fun and scary.
The festival's planning smaller events across the province throughout the year. A screening of Singing Back the Buffalo by Saskatchewan Cree filmmaker Tasha Hubbard ends the festival on Saturday. It's the first Indigenous film festival in our province since 2016. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.